Arshiya Afsar, a seasoned educator, a founder of a very successful preschool chain of India, which has actually seen the growth in a very short time with her presence. That energy spur is what we can see through her session, which is going to be on social emotional learning. Now, with so much of a time that children are spending inside the houses during the lockdown, with less number of opportunities to get the social emotional experiences, this is certainly one area of concern for all of us. Movements, yes, we are trying to bring in by engaging them in the household chores, but what do we do about their social emotional learning? So here we have Arshiya, who's going to help us understand how to bring social emotional learning into our into the lives of our children. Over to you, Arshiya.
Thank you, Kausar. I just want to start off by saying I'm so proud of all of us here at ECA and Swati ma'am for helping the entire early childhood community so beautifully. I'm really, really proud of all of us. So big round of applause to everybody watching and my fellow panelists as well. I'd like to start by telling you that I strongly believe that educating the heart is as important as educating the mind. Children that are equipped with better social and emotional skills have better attention, retention, understanding, and learning skills. They also have better stress responses, healthier bodies too in most cases. This means that they can ace emotions like empathy, compassion, respect, and problem solving. I have always said there is strength in character. And this character building happens in the early years of the child. I'm sure all of us agree. So one of the major skills I advocate is to teach children how to get back on their feet once they fall. This is the most essential skill according to me. Whether they do it independently or they ask for help, they must get up and try again. Now, to explain simply how this SEL works, that's social emotional learning, I'll just quickly take you through the 6 core competencies to make it easier. The first one is self-awareness. So that is to help the children understand and identify the emotions they're feeling, their thoughts, their behaviors. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry. You can make or use smiley lollipops, atta smileys, like Sumana also said, you could have atta and smileys, ask the children to make those, smiley masks for different emotions. Now here's my favorite, face your emotion. Call out the words or the emotion names and the child will select the face for it. Happy, sad, something like that. So I tried making these at home last night. These are with just plain paper and just chopsticks from Swiggy. Next, I have the happy, sad sorting game, where we have flashcards or actual pictures from magazines or newspapers. You don't really have to search a lot. And you make columns where you have a happy face, a sad face, an angry face, etc. And you ask the child to put these pictures in the appropriate column so that they can recognize these emotions. Ask them also, when was the last time you think that they felt this emotion? When did they last feel happy or sad? Next is very simple. You ask them to basically to act out their feelings. Sleepy, hungry, I'm hungry, I'm sad, I'm happy. So you just tell the name and let them act it out. Something like Dam Sharat. Or you can have an empty face which has just eyes, draw the eyes and ask them to draw the emotion, like an upward facing curve or a downward curve for being sad. Now the first thing is they've identified their emotions. Now comes communicating these emotions. So first we need to provide a safe environment for children to express their emotions. Always remember, unexpressed feelings of grief, anxiety, ultimately lead to maybe rage or anger even. So let them express their emotions. They want to be heard. Talk to them, interact with them. You could assign a piece or a safe corner where the child can go and sit if he's unhappy, angry, etc. You can also have a piece of safe helper for the child at home and school, whoever it is, and they can approach that person to communicate their feelings. As most of them have rightly said, my fellow panelists, that stories are very essential. So stories about feelings and emotions are really, really good. And one of the things you could do is you could have utensils, saris, whatever you have in the house. So this is something I'm echoing from Sumana, and they can enact a play or a story at home. And they could do the Ramayana, they could do whatever. You could have music, songs, dance. Now, something I love is puppets. So you could have, so I made this last night. It's a little silly puppet. His name is Socky. So sometimes children don't connect to you. So you could probably have a puppet, give it a name like Socky, and say, how are you feeling today, Kausar? Are you feeling sad today? Come, talk to me about it. Something like that. Now I'll just ask my fellow panelists, when I put my hand on my ear, uh, here I'd ask Prabhat to unmute himself and Kausar. So when I put my hand on my ear, you just repeat what I'm saying. When I'm sad, I feel like crying.
When I'm sad, I feel like crying.
Thank you, Kausar. When I'm angry, I look this way.
When I'm
angry, I look this way.
When I'm happy, I smile all day.
When I'm
happy, I smile all day.
So you could do this with the children. After they identify, communicate their emotions, we basically teach them how to manage these emotions. I'll tell you simple tricks for this. You could have reflection time for the children. You could have yoga and meditation together as a family at home. Now, something I love, there's this game called bubble popping exercise. So you make soap bubbles, ask the children, blow them, ask the children to burst all the bubbles. I know Prabhat is going to love this one. The second time you blow the bubbles, you tell the children not to burst any bubble. And say, even if it comes and sits on your nose, you can't burst it. Basically, this is for self-control. So even when you're tempted, you're not doing something. Now, next I'll tell you about mixed feelings. I'll just give you an example to explain that. I cannot go out, so I'm sad. But I'm spending a lot of time with my family, so I'm happy. I'm helping mommy in the kitchen, so I'm proud. See how beautifully you can help them express mixed emotions. You can also help them manage complex emotions. If he needs to understand that he needs to be at home for a couple of days more, he may feel a little sad. You give him a brave badge. He'll feel brave and happy. He'll be proud of himself. Basically, self-regulation is essential to help children control responses to unmet needs, wants. It helps them handle disappointments and failures. Next, social awareness, which is something I really advocate, is to teach children to show respect, acceptance, understanding, and empathy towards others. Now, this is something I know Sumana will strongly agree with. So if there is a difference, encourage them to accept this difference. Here, simple emotions that you need to keep track of are gratitude. Talk about maybe the COVID frontliners. Make them understand how grateful we are to them. Remember, you need to basically weave gratitude into everyday conversations. Next, talk about sharing. Create opportunities for children to share. And after they do share, like maybe a toy with their sibling, show them how beautiful and happy it feels to be sharing. Empathy, about how someone else feels, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. You can talk about characters from stories, from something they've watched, about what that character is feeling. Remember, non-verbal communication and understanding another person's body language is very, very important. And I'm sure everybody, especially the married people here, would agree that sometimes someone feels sad, they need a hug. Sometimes that same person is angry and they need a space. So they just want you to basically stay away. So it's very important that, we understand each other's body language. So exactly like this, accepting diversity and respecting it is such an important part of social awareness. Understanding each other as humans. So this is essential for a healthy functioning society. Next, I'll just simply rush through relationship building and resolving conflict. Now, I'm sure all of us would love for our children to have this sort of a skill. You could do a beautiful play together where all the characters need to work together. And like all my fellow panelists have already talked about, you need to have scheduling of chores at home. Ask the children to do what they want, what they feel like Prabhat said, freedom. Give them the freedom to do things together. So doing this work at home together is going to make them feel very useful and important as well. Play games that require teamwork so that they can work with each other. An important game and an important skill to remember is waiting for your turn. So when two children are playing with each other, they need to know how to wait for their turn. First they play, after 10 minutes, I get the same turn. And something I'm going to really advocate, and I love this movie, I want all of you to advise the parents to go ahead and watch this movie with your children. It's called Inside Out. Now there are characters in this movie, which are, each character is a feeling, like there's happiness, there is anger, and there is someone who's sad. So all these characters are inside a toddler, and the whole movie is beautiful. The most important things in our life are relationships. In fact, our most treasured memories from childhood are tied to people and social and emotional connections. Remember, not to places or things. Which brings me to my last point, responsible decision making. We need to help children to make responsible decisions. What does that mean? They need to consider choices wisely, think about these choices and the consequences of these choices. Then they need to understand how their choices are going to affect others, not just themselves. We need to teach the children not to be impulsive. Of course, this is tough, but I'm trying to make it a little easy. Why is this important? Because a lot of older children have anxiety and depression. That's because when they were younger, they weren't sure how to make a decision on their own. It was very difficult for them. So by a simple funda I have, it's called SODAS. S for explaining the situation. O for giving them options. D, explaining disadvantages of these options. A, advantages of these options. And last, the other S is finding the solution. Now, instead of explaining this whole thing, I'll just give you a small example. My sister threw a paper ball at me. That is the situation. Now, options are throw the paper ball back. Second, tell a parent. Third, just ignore her. So the disadvantages and advantages, I'll give you one or two. For example, the disadvantage of telling a parent could be that your sister will get angry with you and she may not want to play with you. An advantage of ignoring her could be that, she'll just think, oh, okay, he's ignoring, it didn't affect him. So, you could be really cool about it. So something like that. In the end, you ask them to choose the solution. After that, you ask them, why did you choose that? How do you feel now? How did the other person feel? What do you do now? Remember, difficult choices and choosing the responsible option leads to actual growth. Analyzing a situation, self-reflection, taking up responsibility, and repairing the damages. These are basic problem-solving skills. So guys, I would like to just conclude by saying that learning should be a social process, providing children with emotional and social nourishment. And my favorite line that I love to repeat everywhere is, let us create memories and experiences for our children, not expectations. So even in this COVID times, everything will become a memory, everything will become an experience. So let us just create wonderful experiences for them. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Arshiya.